Shabbat Shalom! This week we are starting to read the book of Exodus, and in Hebrew it's called Shemot, and Shemot means names. And the portion starts with the names of all of Jacob's family who went down to Egypt during the famine. Do you think names are important? The famous author William Shakespeare, who wrote Romeo and Juliet, says in the play, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet." And by that, he meant that it didn't matter which families Romeo and Juliet were from. But we find out in the play it matters, doesn't it? And think about these cookies. These are Mr. Bruce's famous peanut butter cookies. We call them peanut butter cookies. If we called them spaghetti cookies, do you think they would still taste the same? They would. They would taste like peanut butter because that's really what they are. They're not spaghetti cookies. I think that would taste gross. The peanut butter cookies tell us what's in them, and that's important because if you're allergic to peanut butter, you shouldn't eat them. So if we called them spaghetti cookies and you ate them thinking they were spaghetti cookies, not peanut butter cookies, you could have an allergic reaction, and that would be bad. So do you think names are important? I think so. Names identify us and tell us what's in us and where we're from and who we are and what we do and what's important. Names are super cool. So this parsha opens with the names of the Israelites who went down to Egypt. And in the fourth aliyah, what we're reading today, we see Moses asking for the name of God. Do you think the name of God might tell us something important about who God is? Yes, it does. Actually, in this fourth aliyah, we see 4 really cool things about God. What's first? The first cool thing. Let's do a little science experiment. If I light this mini bush on fire, what do you think will happen? It's going to burn up, isn't it? It's going to burn right down into a pile of ashes. That is what God designed fire to do. But what happened with Moses? Let's read. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire within a burning bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. God was getting Moses' attention. God did a miracle, and Moses paid attention. That's the first cool fact about our God. God does miracles, and when he does, we should pay attention. Just like Moses. There's more cool stuff coming. God talks with Moses. What does he say? Let's read. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt. This is the second cool fact about God. He hears and answers our prayers. So what should we do? We should pray. That's right. Now that's cool. But Moses, well, he's a little nervous. He's not sure he's the right guy for the job. He's not sure the people are actually going to listen to him. He says things like, I can't speak well. And guess what? God is patient with him. God is patient with all of Moses' worries. And this is the third cool fact about God. He is patient with us. So go ahead and cast all your anxieties and your cares and your worries and your fears on him. He can listen to it. And he has a solution for everything. If there's something he called you to do, he will give you the power to do it. You can trust him on that. And there's one more thing. Moses wants to know the name of God. Who should I tell them is sending me? He says. He wants a more specific answer than the God of our fathers. He wants to know God's name. And how does God answer? He says, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. I am who I am. What kind of a name is that? God is telling us that his name is holy and eternal. In fact, Isaiah 29:23 says that we will keep his name holy. He is the I am. Where else do we see the I am? Revelation 1:8 says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the one who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty. And in verse 17, Yeshua says, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I was dead, and behold, I am alive forever and ever. And Yeshua also tells us in John 5, verse 58, I tell you the truth, before Abraham was, I am. As the prophet Isaiah foretold, this is what the Lord says, Israel's King and Redeemer, the Lord Almighty, I am the first and I am the last. Apart from me, there is no God. This is our God, our Redeemer, the one who saved us from Egypt and the one who will save us from death. He is the eternal one. He is. Shabbat Shalom.